Hey guys, this is January 15, back at it with another video for you guys, and I'm back with another fairy tale arc review, and I'm here to discuss the next or the second to last arc in the series, and that is the Avatar arc, which covers the arc where Fairy Tale gets back together and reunites after their 1 year disbandment. So let's get into this short little mini arc here. But yeah, anyways, the Avatar arc consists of manga chapters 418 to 437 and anime episodes 276 to 284. Now, like I ended the Fairy Tail Zero arc last week, just like I said that way, here again, it is the year 792, which is 1 year. So it's been 1 year since the Fairy Tale Guild has disbanded. And this is when we only look into what Lucy's doing for the time being right now. So we find out that Lucy works for Sorcerer Weekly now. And we see on how what she's been doing to get to the position she wants to do. At first, she was like a model type of character. She was like just doing modeling work. But then, thanks to Jason and doing all these writing pieces for Jason, eventually she got the part of a gig of, well, doing freaking articles and stuff for Sorcerer Weekly and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's been pretty cool. So Lucy feels like she's kind of somewhat living the life and everything. You know, she lives in Crocus now. And yeah, but the thing is, she really does frickin' miss the Fairy Tale Guild. And ever since then, she's kind of been, I guess you can say, very upset, very sad at the whole disbandment of the guild. Like, you see her physically, like, she has this whole board too, where essentially she's been trying to track down everybody in the guild of where they went. And you can clearly see it's a very emotional scene. It's a very emotional scene where essentially she's literally breaking down to tears, crying because, you know, she wants those memories back, you know, that she wants the people she considers as family back. So very emotional and stuff like that. So essentially you could say she's just living her just typical life where it's just like, yeah, get up for work, do this, you know, just let's try to have another good day today, you know, and stuff like that. So after the finals of the Grand Magic Games take place, we see this individual in a hoodie show up, and it's later revealed once he takes it off and after he heats up the entire Domus Flaw Arena, we see it's Natsu, who's sporting longer hair. Happy shows up. He's got a nice little orange jacket. And obviously, Natsu's showing off his power that he has never had before and stuff like that. So, yeah. And this is the one thing also, too, about the Avatar arc. This is the Avatar arc since it's the return of the Fairy Tale members. Essentially, it's the return of the Fairy Tale members showing off the strengths and how strong they have gotten over the 1 year time skip and stuff like that. So, yeah, now, after catching up with Lucy and having some funny stuff, Natsu gets in trouble with the Kingdom of Fiore, and obviously the king's like, oh, don't worry, they helped us out so many times in freaking the past. We're going to give you the benefit of the doubt. Hey, listen, we'll fix the stadium. And I just love it, too, even in the incident after he leaves the market and Fairy Tales returning. I just love the fact that Princess Hisui, she's laughing through this entire situation. She's just having a whole thing. She knows what Fairy Tale's about. So I do find funny stuff and everything like that. But over time, you have Lucy and Natsu eventually catch up and everything over time and stuff like that. You get some pretty damn funny scenes. You kind of get a nice little Nalu shipping moment there where Lucy was kind of a little upset at Natsu for leaving her all on her own. Like I said at the end of my Tartaros arc review, I literally do believe, you know, after the end of Tartaros, that's when Lucy developed her feelings for Natsu, when I guess you can quote unquote say she fell in love with him at that point in time because she needed a shoulder to cry on. Honestly, I feel like from the end of Tartaros up until now, she's in love with Natsu. Again, we know Lucy is a tsundere type of character. So, she's not a character that shows, that she has feelings for Natsu, and she kind of keeps that away. And it's funny enough, there's a few times in this arc where we get Nalu moments where she completely pushes him away, like, you're getting too much of my personal space, clown. But listen, I've always believed that's when Lucy started loving Natsu at the end of the Tartaros arc. But hey, that's just me. So yeah. But Natsu, when he's standing in her place, he's thinking like, I'm gonna pull a prank, I'm gonna draw on her face. But he turns around and he sees the whole board of her tying, loose ends of where Urs is at, or where's Gray is at, where's the other Fairy Tale Guild members at. And Natsu happy see this, and they're like, she's been tracking down the members and where they've been doing. So this is when Natsu gets the idea. And after literally leaving a marking on the freaking Kingdom Castle Fiore, where it says Fairy Tale in Flames, he grabs Lucy and he tells Lucy that they're going to plan to bring the guild back together again, and that they're going to bring Fairy Tale back. So obviously Lucy's very happy about this, and this is great and all for Lucy and everything. Now, actually, some fun facts, information, if you guys did not know. Now, in the 2014 anime, which covers literally all the way from the back half of the Grand Magic Games arc to the Fairy Tale Zero arc, the first two episodes of the Avatar arc are actually from the 2014 anime. Now, some interesting trivia I found on the Fairy Tale Wiki is the 2014 anime of Fairy Tale ended at the start of the arc when Natsu was planning, and then the last episode is when Natsu's telling Lucy, we're going to get the guild back together. And one thing I do like is that they were playing the opening theme song from the Grand Magic Games arc, which was the first opening song to the 2014 anime, the 2014 season 2, quote unquote, anime adaptation of Fairy Tale. But the thing is, they had to, it ended on March 26, 2016, because the anime started to catch up to where the manga currently was at the time. But Mashima said that they'd be working on a new Fairy Tale project at that point in time. So yeah. Now I don't know too much, but I think he was probably talking about Fairy Tale 100-Year Quest at this point in time. I think that's what he was referencing, because he said it was a series related to Fairy Tale, which is 100 Years Quest. It's my only thing. Now, essentially, on July 20th, 2017, it was announced that the Fairy Tale anime would resume in 2018, which it would be given its title, the final season. So yeah. Which, listen, fun. That was just some fun fact information if you guys just want to know, especially if you're watching the anime. So literally, when the whole thing was getting ready, there was a 2-year break, and then the anime came back, essentially. So yeah, or really a year. Technically, it was a 2-year break, but whatever. So yeah. Anyways, cutting back to the story. So the first area they stop at is some town where Natsu blew off this freaking blew off this freaking, I guess, clock or something like that. Natsu does also make a mention he ran into Gildarts on his training journey and he fought him and stuff like that. So it was nice to see that whole thing and everything. But essentially their first stop to getting a Fairy Tale member to come back, thanks to Lucy's whole tracking system. Essentially they go to Marguerite Town and they find Wendy and Carla, who have, after the disbandment of the Fairy Tale Guild, they joined the Lamia Scale Guild. And Wendy is in a little singing routine known as the Sky Sisters, throwing this event. I forgot what the event's called for Lamia Scale throws in their representative city, but it's similar to the Harvest Festival that Fairy Tale always through and stuff like that. Yeah, she's a part of this whole sing along thing with Shelia. And they're called the Sky Sisters because Wendy's a Sky Dragon Slayer and Shelia is a Sky God Slayer. Yeah, okay. Yeah, now Natsu is utterly shocked. He's like, what the hell? Wendy's not a freaking singer, she's a dragon slayer. Which again, I love the whole funny dialogue scenes. I watched the dub. It's so funny, man. It's funny. So yeah. We also see Carla is looking quite differently now. And she has a human form. Yes, she has a human form. I'll explain that in a quick second. So, when Natsu and Lucy go talk to Wendy, Wendy's obviously happy to see them again. And that's when Natsu's like, hey, listen, you're coming back to Fairy Tale with us. We're ready to rebuild the guild again. But Wendy is like, I kind of just want to stay in Lamia scale. I'm kind of good where I'm at right now. Even Carla's like, don't force her if she doesn't want to go. And like I said, Carla's in a human form. And again, one of the funny scenes was where Lucy and Javi both say, like, how is she human? And then freaking Natsu's like, how the hell are you human? And essentially, the reasoning behind this whole aspect is the fact that, well, Carla has a transformation magic. And essentially, by using this transformation magic, she can transform into a human. And her magic powers increase as well as her clairvoyance. Her whole I can see the future thing is much stronger. So to go off on a quick little off tangent thing, I do like the fact that they made Carla give her a form where she's actually more useful than anything in the series. I think it's pretty dope, to be honest. Like, honestly, I was on board. I liked the whole thing. They gave Wendy's partner a whole little aspect of, well, guess what? You know, Carla can fight now, and she's got transformation magic to turn herself into a human. Now, listen, if you're into Carla's human form, hey, you can be a furry, or I don't know what. Oh, you can be a guy into lollies. I don't care. But I don't mind Carla's human form. I think it's actually pretty cool that they gave her a human form, which goes to show you that, oh, she's been training somewhat and she found a way to get stronger to help Wendy out. And also, hey, we have freaking Lily, which is Gajo's XC partner. He just fights from the jump. Now, one thing I have to say is this. I feel like one of the missed opportunities in this is the fact that Mashima did not find any way to upgrade Happy to where maybe he can get in the action of combat. And honestly, I feel like he would have been good. I would have liked it if he would have got the same treatment as freaking Carla. He gets he gets a human transformation form. You can't do that too? Like, now I understand Happy is really the main true mascot of Fairy Tale, but you couldn't give him a human form? Like, I would have liked it because then it would have made Happy more involved in the whole battles and stuff like that, and it made him feel more important. Well, not to say that Happy is important, but maybe more important from a standpoint of when it comes to battles and stuff like that. He can help out, and it would be a nice side helping friend to Natsu. Yeah, would his magic power not be as strong as Natsu's? Yes, but fudge. He gave him a human form. It would have been good. One of my criticisms in the late game arcs of Fairy Tale, I really do feel like they made Happy go on this 1-year training journey, and you don't find no way to make Happy, at least in some semblance, be a fighter. Now, obviously, Happy hasn't been a fighter, but it would have been nice if you could have did the same thing as Carla. It would have made sense. Carla and Happy having both human forms. Cool enough for me. So you have Lily fight and you have Carla fight. Happy still doesn't fight. He kind of is just like, hi, sir. I'm just around carrying Natsu when he needs me to carry him around. Okay, you could have had a human form and did the same exact thing. I don't know why. It would have been much more of a shock, too, when Happy meets Lucy and he taps Lucy on the shoulder and Lucy can be like, who are you? And Happy can be like, it's me, Happy. It's me, Happy. And she's like, you're not Happy. Happy's a blue cat. And that's when he could be like, transform back to his normal self and be like, here, And then that's the whole thing there. And then you could have just introduced Carla and you'd be like, oh, Carla, you do the same thing as me? That's dope. And stuff like that. So I really do feel like they dropped the ball on trying to improve Happy. I really do wish, if it was me, I could rewrite the ending part of Fairy Tale. I would have given Happy a freaking human form. I really would have. I really would have. So yeah. Anyways, we also find out in the discussion with Lamia Skill that there is a third new Magic Council formed. So the old one broke up because of the Tower of Heaven incident. The other one broke up because kablam! The freaking Tartarus Guild did us all a favor and blew up the asshole Magic Council. So this new Magic Council is not made of previous Magic Council members because they're all dead other than Mr. Yajima. But this new Magic Council is made up of the 10 Wizard Saints. Yes, so Jura is also included in this. Now, the interesting point Leon makes is that Makarov did get an invitation to join, but he never showed up, which means he never accepted it. Meaning that nobody knows where Makarov's at, which is the whole mystery too, which also ties in a little bit early Alvarez Empire arc. But the whole thing is nobody knows where the hell Makarov's at because he just went off grid after Fairy Tail's disbandment and everything and stuff like that. Hell, even back early in this arc when Natsu's confronting himself against the seeing Hisui and King Fiore again, they don't even know where Makarov's at. So yeah. Anyways, yeah. Now we get this whole scene between Wendy and Shelia where Wendy tells her like she doesn't want to leave to make Shelia feel any lonely than she already might be, especially from the standpoint that we find out that Shelia's cousin Sherry had gotten married. Now, I believe from my recollection, she got married to Ren, which is the dude in Blue Pegasus, which, funny enough, they hinted at in the Grand Magic Games arc that they would end up together. So, yeah. But yeah, she got married and she left the guild, and she joined Blue Pegasus from my recollection of knowledge. So yeah, but obviously Shelia is like, I'm gonna be fine. So yeah, but then again, but they see that Lamia Scale's been attacked and has been attacked by their arch nemesis Oroshi's Finn. No, it's not Orochi from One Piece. You know, the freaking dude I hate and stuff like that. Trust me, I hate that fat bastard. But anyways, Oroshi's Finn's guild attacks Lamia Scale, and this becomes a whole war type of thing. Now, Wendy and Shelia, with Shelia still in a way happy from Natsu, they go on to take on the main leaders of Oroshi's Finn, while Natsu trails them behind. So when we have Lucy help out, she uses her Star Dress form. And like I said, in the Tauros arc, that's when it was kind of utilized for the first time then, but here it's truly brought out. And essentially, her Star Dress form is like a Requip, like Urza's Requip. The only thing is she requips into an outfit based on the representative celestial spirit she has. So, and then she brought out Loki. Well, she has the Loki Star Dress form. And yeah. I thought it made it pretty cool from the standpoint that it made Lucy a lot stronger. And even before they came to the Margaret town, Lucy does kind of make a nice little mention. And now it's like, oh, you want to fight somebody? You can fight me. Trust me. I'm a lot stronger than I was, than I was a year ago. Which, again, if you see my Fairy Tale 100-Year Quest manga chapter reviews, I've always said, especially in the last few recent manga chapters, that Lucy is an underrated character in terms of her strength. She actually is pretty damn strong. She is S tier levels of strength, and it's like literally. And I like the fact that Machima gave her this whole Star Dress thing because it makes her feel like, oh, guess what? You know, she doesn't feel as useless where she's just there while her spirits have to protect her. She can actually participate in fights, because the Star Dress forms actually give an increase to her magic power and make her stronger, which I do like. So, yeah, that's pretty cool and stuff like that. So yeah, now when Natsu finally catches up with them, Wendy and Shelia at this point in time, they eventually came across Blue Note Stinger. Now, if you remember who Blue Note was, he was one of the dudes in Grimoire Hearts. Now, obviously, Wendy remembers who he is. Natsu doesn't, because, hey, Natsu's like every main male protagonist. He just has the IQ of number 5. But he doesn't know who it is. Now, Blue Note Stinger eventually remembers who Natsu is, and he's like, I gotta rid everybody who's in the Fairy Tail Guild after they embarrassed me all those years ago. Well, technically, it was like 8 years ago. So he goes after him, and Natsu literally just does a Fire Dragon Roar and utterly just defeats him with ease. This is the same Blue Note Stinger that you made Gildarts work to beat him. The same Blue Note Stinger that Kana, friggin' Natsu, and a bunch of many other characters couldn't defeat on their own. Crazy, huh? Just crazy how the feats of Natsu has grown over just one freaking year. Just 1 year. And honestly, the thing about it too, it's like, damn, 1 year, Natsu gets this crazy strong. Just imagine if you go back to the Grand Magic Games arc, then the Celestial Spirits never took him to the Celestial Spirit world, and they trained for those 3 months. Holy shit, they might have been actually immensely strong. Obviously, the second origin definitely helped, but they probably would have been insanely strong by that logic, if we're taking it that case. So, yeah. Essentially, Orochi's Fin eventually surrenders because they see Natsu's crazy power. And, yeah. So, Wendy and Shelia eventually have a talk. Now, Shelia tells Wendy, like, listen, Natsu needs you. Don't you love Natsu? And obviously Wendy's like, no, don't get something straight. He's too old for me. I'm just still, like 15 or something like that. He's damn near 20 something. Yeah, but I do like the fact that they do like, I do like the fact how Wendy makes the mention here that she looks up to Natsu and she sees Natsu as an older brother. I really do like that mention they put there, the fact that Wendy sees Natsu as an older brother, which honestly makes sense, especially from their first encounter. You did get older brother, little sister type of vibes from Wendy and Natsu. Because obviously that's the one thing about Wendy. She's always has looked up to Natsu because most, things in that battle she always says, give me the strength like Natsu always has. Because she looks up to him like an older brother. So I think that's pretty cool and everything and stuff like that. But she says, listen, I'm going to be okay on my own. Listen, you need to go back to the guild that has the people you love, the people who you consider your friends. Not to say that I'm not your friend. I'm always going to be your friend, Wendy. And, I'm always going to be here. So whenever we get in contact with each other, we can always hang out and be friends like we always are. Just because we're in different guilds doesn't mean we have to stop being friends. It was a nice little talk from Shelia. I do like the fact, because that whole thing there too. So that was pretty cool. So that's when Wendy eventually agrees to go with Natsu and Lucy to reform the guild. Natsu also brings up to Lucy that he still hasn't forgot about Act and Loki because they were talking about Blue Note. And Natsu's like, I guess I somewhat remember him, but not really. But obviously because the events of the Tartaros arc and obviously the Tenno Island arc, obviously Natsu remembers who freaking Aknologi is. And he's on his quest to avenge Igneal's death and defeat Aknologi because that's his whole stick. Here, mostly in the final season, that's kind of the whole thing there and stuff like that. So, a pretty also interesting tidbit we also found out is that even though Wendy joined the Lamia Skill Guild, she always had a plan in mind that whenever Fairy Tail would reform back together again, she would end up leaving Lamia Skill to go back to Fairy Tail. So, I guess it doesn't make real much sense why she gets so damn emotional over this, but hey. She's a little kid. Well, she's technically a 15-year-old girl, so yeah. Anyways, the next area they decide to go to is Rangbringer Village, and essentially that's where Juvia is at. Now, essentially, we find some details about Juvia and Gray, and essentially we find out that Juvia essentially lived with Gray for about around half a year, essentially, and then Gray just upped and dipped. I do like the whole fact again where freaking Juvia is saying, "Oh, we did all this together. We did 8 together. We trained together. You know, oh, we slept." And you just have freaking Lucy and Wendy like, "Okay, you don't need to tell us no more. Okay, please, you don't need to tell us anymore." And then she has this whole smart ass look and everything like it. And I freaking swear, man, I was freaking crying. Because Lucy's like, why is she smiling at me like that? Because Juvia still thinks Lucy has some sort of thing for Gray. And I'm like, Juvia, I think you can say Lucy has more of a thing for Natsu than she ever did for Gray. But and the whole slipping thing, no, they didn't sleep together in the same bed. Essentially, they slipped apart because we know Gray, he ain't attached to Juvia like that yet. Well, he somewhat is attached to Juvia a lot. He does lie. I would say right now, Gray's feelings for Juvia is kind of like in the air. He doesn't know how to feel. But by the time you get to one of your quests, he's essentially in love with her. The thing is, you know, essentially, he just ends up leaving out of the blue and stuff like that. And ever since then, Juvia hasn't heard anything about him. And obviously, Juvia is very emotional because she's worried about him. And obviously, and Natsu kind of makes an indirect comment of him saying, like, God, the guy sounds like a dick. Why would he just leave you like that? And Lucy's just like, oh, really? Huh? Coming from the guy who left me a year ago. And Natsu's like, well, hey, I left a letter telling you where I was going to go. So, hey, I have an excuse. Obviously, Lucy's like, oh, please, don't give me that BS. She's like, you don't understand what I was going through during that time. You didn't even bother to talk to me and everything. And again, like I said, you get many damn Nalu moments in this freaking arc alone. And again, you can't tell me. One, it's definitely Nalu moments, but you can't tell me that Lucy is in love with Natsu at this point in time because she's been giving these indirect innuendos, these hints that, oh, guess what? I didn't like the fact that you upped and left me all alone, especially with everything I went through after Tartaros. I needed somebody, and I thought you were going to be there for me. Because hell, when she was walking up at the end of the Tartaros arc to her room, she thought Natsu and Happy were going to be in there. Nope. Not even there. And she just got the letter and she broke down and cried because guess what? That's when she essentially realized I need him more than anything right now. I do like that nice moment where Juvia says, stop flirting in here. Which Lucy's like, we're not fucking flirting. Which I'm like, no, you kind of are flirting with each other. Even Natsu's looking at her like, God damn it, I'm going to have to freaking do something and hug her or something to make her feel good. He's probably in this, because listen, we know Natsu's pretty, he's stupid, but he's not stupid. Especially when it comes to, I guess, some romance, he's not that stupid. But I think, because you can see the look in his eyes, it's like, oh God, I'm gonna have to do something for her, and God, I'm gonna have to pay her back for all this. So yeah, but again, one of the funniest Nalu moments the entire series had was when it was a filler episode when it looked like, and this was like early stage fairy tale when frickin' everybody thought freaking Natsu was referring to Lucy, talking about, and Lucy thought, oh, he's going to ask me out on a date or something like that. He's going to ask me to be his girlfriend, or he's going to ask me if, you know, I can be his girlfriend or something like that. And that ended up for freaking Natsu wanting to call in Virgo. That was one of the funniest fairy tale episodes ever. But I do get a nice little thing about that because, again, Lucy just hints at Natsu like, well, you left me alone and I really wanted you by my side, which I'm like, oh, so in other words, you love him and you want him to be in your room. You want him to be in the same house as you and you want to make babies with him. Huh. Well, technically, you guys are going to have a kid in the future, so I guess you get your wish. I still need that freaking Nalu confession moment. Oh, brother. I don't care who it comes from. It could be Natsu. Preferably, it's going to have to definitely come from Lucy because Lucy's more self-aware. I just need freaking Lucy to admit that she is in love with Natsu. Can we get to the end of 100-year quest, please, and make you Mashima? Anyways, yeah, so Natsu ends up getting this idea to go to Sabretooth because he thinks it's something from the moment. And this is when we see Gray in a dark wizard cult named Avatar. And essentially, they want to do this whole purification thing to eventually call upon Zareth and yada yada yada. So they're essentially another Zareth type of cult type of thing that's like, oh, we need to bring back Zareth so he can enact his revenge and we can see him and serve under him. No, that's stupid BS. So some of their members are Alok, Abel, Briar, D6, Gomon, and Jerome and Mary. Some of these damn names are just some random ass dude names, like literally Abel, Jerome. Come on! And guess what? I'm not trying to be racist or anything, but Jerome is a black person name, and the guy's skin color is white. Now, don't even ask me what the hell that was supposed to be. Anyways, yeah. So they go over to the guild hall of Sabretooth. You get also another lead up Nalu moment where Natsu's confronting Lucy in the face, like, you need to trust me, and stuff like that. And obviously Lucy's like, you're too close. So yeah, essentially what happens is he talks to Sting. You think Sting got fat, but essentially they have some sort of eating contest. But they end up running into Rogue. They end up, thanks to Sting, they end up finding Rogue and Minerva. Now, the one thing I do like about Minerva and this newly reformed Minerva is the fact that when Lucy runs into Minerva again, Minerva also looks different. She's not wearing the eyeliner and / lipstick. She kind of looks like a everyday girl. Not to say that she didn't look hot with all that makeup on, but she looks really cute in her new final season design. So the thing is, the thing is, she ends up actually apologizing to Lucy for the way she treated Lucy a year ago in the Grand Magic Games. Now, Lucy's like, listen, we were just doing this all for the guild. So because we were doing this because it was our guilds that we were trying to win for. But Minerva's like, no. You can say that for your reasoning, but for me, I went out and tortured you. I hurt you. And that was nice of me. And obviously Lucy accepts her apology. And she's like, you know what? Apology accepted. But hey, listen, we're friends now. So let's do this. So I do like that Minerva finally had that one-on-one talk with Lucy and she apologized for the action she caused. Because really, the only other connection, I guess in a way, she doesn't have a big connection to Lucy. She has kind of a bigger connection to Urza, which I kind of feel in the final season, they totally dropped the ball on that. They never have Urza and Minerva actually re-interact in the final season. You would think they would do that, but no, they don't. They have Kagura morally interacting with Urza than the next guy. So, yeah. Also, this is the part where I also just abnormally started shipping Rogue and Minerva. Typically, that's who I'd ship Rogue with. I ship him with Minerva, and I ship Sting with Yukino. So, yeah. So, I guess both the Sabretooth Dragon Slayers got some babes in their ranks. Anyways, speaking of what Natsu's doing, Natsu essentially sees the request that Rogue and Minerva was going to do, and essentially it was to defeat Avatar and take them out. And essentially, on the way there, this is when Natsu tells Lucy that, well, after the battle with Future Rogue told him that Gray was going to kill Frosh, which would send Rogue over to the Dargan, and he would end up becoming evil Rogue. Now, Lucy kind of makes a good point. He's like, but we destroyed the Eclipse Gate. That would never happen. And obviously, Natsu's like, well, yeah, probably not, but I'm not taking any chances. So, yeah, everything. Now, some members in the Avatar guilds hear that, oh, guess what? The Magic Council apparently found out about our whereabouts and stuff like that, and they're coming to beat us. And they're actually thinking, oh, it's Gray that told them or ratted the news. But Gray is like, you really think I did this? Oh, please. I'm not doing anything. I only joined your ranks so I could do this. Find the book of E&D so I could kill E&D myself, and then I'm done. And I don't care what I have to do. I'll go through anybody. I'll do anything if it's to get that book of E&D and stuff like that. And obviously, the other Avatar members like, this motherfucker wants to take on the strongest demon in the book of Zareth? What the hell? And two, also, they're like, well, I guess he makes his case of being somebody we can trust, because guess what? He gave up a lot of evil energy and stuff like that. So, or a lot of evil magic power. So, yeah. Anyways, we see the Magic Council on their way to stop Avatar, and Gaju and Panther Lily are in the Magic Council now. Yes, they're in the Magic Council now, which is shocking. So yeah, now Natsu and Lucy infiltrate Avatar's guild hall. Natsu ends up fighting some from members. We have this one guy, the freaking clown-looking dude. He has the freaking voodoo doll that one dude from freaking I forgot his name, Grimoire Hearts had, the thing that made freaking Lucy do all these weird freaking crazy stuff, everything. But essentially, Natsu beats these guys with utter ease because that's how strong he is. Gray eventually comes down. He starts fighting Natsu, but essentially he gets the better. He essentially during the fight essentially brings on to say that I'm not part of Fairy Tail anymore, and Fairy Tail is in the past and it's dead. And you have Lucy give a Nami Whole Cake Island moment. If you don't know what I'm talking about, in the Whole Cake Island arc, Nami actually went up and slapped frickin' Sanji for what he was doing in that arc, as a way where she said, I don't like what you're doing and I don't like what you're saying, and it is ripping me apart. Honestly, it was legit word for word, damn near the same exact scene when Lucy did it. She slapped Gray and she did the same exact thing Nami said to Sanji in that whole scene. So yeah, and I was like, oh, well, this is giving me One Piece vibes here. Main protagonist girl slaps another main cast member because they're pissed at the things they're saying. Also, Gray has the Avatar guild mark on his chest, and he got rid of Fairy Tail and stuff like that. They eventually get captured and they're put in prison. So yeah, we also find out that Levy's in the Magic Council as well. And she did some digging and she snuck into Avatar. That's how she found out what the hell was going on there. And that's the person who found out. Now, we see Lucy about to get tortured or killed. Like, eventually, like, at one point, she was, like, going to have a freaking goat lick her freaking feet. And the way they do is, like, oh, he's going to lick your feet so much to the point that it's going to get sharper every freaking time he licks it, to the point he rips off your damn skin. Now, listen, I don't know how sharp a goat's tongue is, but god damn, is that freaking brutal and disgusting and gory. But I think it'll just be a little lick, slimy lick. I don't know. But Lucy's like, yeah, no. Now, you think that would be your fan service-y scene? No, it isn't. Essentially, the dude's like, I'm just going to kill you right here, cut you in half. But Gray stops him from doing that. And essentially is like, listen, I'm good. I'm not bad. I'm good. Also, we find out that he can actually control the little demon-looking things on it all over his body. He can control that with utter ease and stuff like that. So, yeah. And this is when, well, guess what? I guess in the Fairy Tail world, there's cell phones now. Now they call it portable communication lacrima, but they're literally cell phones. So Gray hands over the cell phone to Natsu, and guess what? It's Urza done in a new, different armor, showing a little bit more skin. Yes, because it's not like everybody and their mamas would like to see Urza with more skin on, because we all love Urza with more skin, right? So yeah, essentially, what happens is Urza explains that Jalal gave her a quest to hunt down this cult avatar who obviously has dealings with Zareth and stuff like that. And yeah, now Natsu makes a good question. It's like, okay, knowing you and Gray and how strong you guys are, why don't you just take them out from the start? Well, the reasoning behind that is because Avatar has different branches in their whole guild stuff. So you really couldn't take one of them down because they're being completely different branch and everything. So essentially what they planned is they waited for all the branches to come together when they do this purification spell to so-called bring them Zareth to their feet. So yeah, and when the whole purification thing is going to be happening, essentially, and it looks like these people have to give up like human sacrifices. So before they do that, Fairy Tail gets in their way and they end up stopping them. And yeah, this is kind of the portion of the arc where we just see all the not all the Fairy Tail guildmates, but some of them, more the more important ones, show up. Yeah, sorry for that, but they all return and show up, so they can be able to show off the new power they developed over the 1 year time skip and how much stronger they've been and stuff like that. So clearly, you see how strong they are. You clearly see how Natsu. In this fight, you have Lucy fighting Mary. She debuts her Tauros Star Dress form. We see how strong Gray is. Urza has a new equip armor we haven't seen at this point in time, where she brings like multiple swords. It's something similar to obviously her Heaven's Wield armor, just different in a way. But she ends up fighting this guy. She ends up fighting Jerome, who's not black. Nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying, Jerome sounds like a black person's name. Lucy fights Mary. Gray fights Briar, who does the freaking Tien Shinhan technique where you can split up in different bodies and stuff like that and make 4 different bodies. He had like ones for different emotions. One of them like had like love, and the one Briar's that love Briar's like kind of thing that I freaking like loved you at one point. And obviously Gray's like, what the fuck? But then when it comes to ladies and Gray fighting for their affection, Juvia shows up out of nowhere and he's like, oh shit. Juvia comes in and Wendy comes in as well. The reasoning behind is, well, Wendy smelled Gray and, well, came to him. Also, we see Wendy is able to transform into her Dragon Force form at will. Which also too, this is the first time she shows up to the other Fairy Tail members, her Dragon Force form, which just like Sting and Rogue, she's able to transform to a Dragon Force form at will. Again, I don't know. We don't know if Natsu and Gajul can do it. We haven't seen Gajul's Dragon Force form at all in the series. We just don't know if Natsu can do a Dragon Force form at will. Like, we've only seen him do it in situations where his corner's against the wall. So, yeah, and like it would make sense that he should be able to do that, but no. But Wendy, just like Sting and Rogue, is able to transform into it at will. I think she's the only Dragon Slayer, quote unquote, which is first generation Dragon Slayer that can transform into the Dragon Force form at will. If I'm wrong about that, put that in the comment section. Again, I'm saying first generation, which the first generation Dragon Slayers are Natsu, Gajul, and Wendy. Second generation are Loxus and Cobra. Third generation are obviously Sting and Rogue. Fourth and fifth generation Dragon Slayers are stuff for 100 Year Quest. Yes. Anyways. Yeah. Essentially, Natsu ends up fighting the main boss named Alok, and he ends up taking Alok down by breaking down his barriers and everything. Now Alok ends up summoning Ikusa Tsunagi, which is one of the 18 battle gods of Yakima, and essentially Alok says that Ikusa Tsunagi will kill all the other members in Avatar, and they'll be offered up as the sacrifices. They'll be the sacrifice of summon Zeref here. Now Natsu, like typical Natsu, is always upset because it's like, if you treat your freaking friends, disrespectfully, and you're gonna just blow them off, you deserve to get your ass kicked, because that's Natsu's whole stick type of thing. And he gets to the top of Ikusa Tsunagi, and this is when we see Natsu's new power boost type of thing, and that's when he unleashes a new move called Fire Dragon King Destruction Fisk, which Natsu has a mode, or a new form, I guess you can quote unquote say, which is Fire Dragon King mode, which essentially is like he has the powers of Igneal. Like, that's how strong his flames are, because Igneal was the Fire Dragon King. So now that Igneal's gone, he's got some of the power from Igneal training, and he's got Fire Dragon King Destruction Fist. Cool. It's essentially like an upgraded form of Fire Dragon Iron Fist, just stronger. But even with regular Iron Dragon Fire Fist, it's still pretty strong. But freaking Destruction Fist is freaking insane levels of strength for Natsu. So yeah. But yeah, essentially, that's it. It literally utterly defeats this guy. And let me just tell you, you actually do fight Ikusa Tsunagi in the video game, the Fairy Tail video game, because in the Fairy Tail video game, it actually goes up into the Avatar arc, but it literally ends right before you get to the start of the Alvarez Empire arc. It's like literally like, oh, you just do guilds as if they were doing guilds before the Alvarez Empire arc started, which I never understood why the game didn't go into the Alvarez Empire arc storyline. Like they really should have did that, but they really only did the two best arcs in the story. So I guess I'm cool with the game for doing that. But I really do wish that they went in the Alvarez Empire arc. Hell, they freaking give you the Alvarez Empire arc freaking skins in that game. You're telling me you couldn't do an Alvarez arc in the game? Hell, you could do that. You couldn't do that as DLC. They gave you the DLC for Lizana and freaking other characters and stuff like that. But okay, fine. Anyways, so yeah, Gaja, Levy, and Lily eventually show up with the Magic Council to arrest the Avatar members and stuff like that. The reasoning behind Gaja joining the Magic Council is because Ward kind of told him a joke, oh, you should join the council. And Gaja actually took that to heart and did it. Now, don't trust the tree. I did like the funny thing where he's like, oh, you're under arrest, you're under arrest, you're under arrest. And he just gave up some friggin' reasons. Like, he's telling Lucy, like, you're under arrest for showing too much. The fun thing that cracked me up the most is freaking Gaja's like, oh, Wendy Marvel, you're arrested for just doing things. And Wendy's like, what the hell did I do? So that was funny. I was cracking up there. So anyways, I was written off this arc review. We get some background information about Zeref. Oh yes, lovely black wizard Zeref. So 400 years ago, when Zeref was a kid, he was learning about some magic referring to life and death, and he wanted to know what the whole purpose of life and death was. Why people die, why people live. He wanted to know the whole purpose. Hey, that's a pretty damn true, type of thing. Why do people live here in this real world? Why do people have to die? And stuff like that. So it's understandable. But his leaders at his school told him he can't learn that stuff because that's like forbidden magic type of stuff you can't learn and everything. So yeah, as the years go by on, Zeref eventually came up with drafts of inventions we've seen that have tied to Zeref, which are the R system, the Revive system, and the Eclipse Gate. Yes, two things that have ties into Zeref. So we clearly know where that came from, right? So yeah, and his whole thing is he wants to find a way so he can revive his dead brother. We'll get to that in a few seconds, right? Now, because of what he was doing and what he was trying to do all this stuff, his professor essentially was like, well, you're expelled from this school, pack your bags, get the hell out of here. You can't learn anything. You're doing forbidden types of magic and stuff like that. And that's when Zeref is like hearing all this. And in response to that, he killed everybody with the curse of contradiction. Yes, everybody in the school dies because of his curse of contradiction. And essentially, how he got it was, since he was learning everything about this forbidden magic about life and death and stuff like that, he was cursed by the god of life and death. I don't know how you pronounce it. Ankasarim? I don't know if I'm saying that right, but yeah. Essentially, he did it because he did it for forsaking the sacredness of life and death. Essentially, trying to find ways to break the rules of life and death, and he got cursed for that. So that's how he ended up with the curse of contradiction. And you see him when he's walking around, everything around him dies. And he later realizes he needs to stop giving a shit about anything for things to stay alive. And that's how he kind of lives his entire life, too, finding out that he was also immortal. Because of it, he could never age. So essentially, he was honestly God. Wow. Almost in the same predicament as Mavis. Huh. Very interesting. Because of this, that's when he ended up doing this magic, doing the most taboo magic, and that's creating life. And that's how we ended up creating, obviously, the demons of the Book of Zeref and everything. Eventually, this is when he also used to create his greatest creation, his greatest demon, and that is END. other words, in what we know as Aetherius Natsu Dragneel. And we also find out, which is another freaking plot twist. Oh, what a twist! Yeah, Natsu is actually Zeref's brother by blood. And that was the little brother that Zeref was trying to bring back. So, guess what? Full circle, full circle. If you remember all the way back in my Battle of Fairy Tale arc review, remember when Freed made that enchantment where nobody in the guild could leave, could leave the guild hall if you're over the age of 400 years old? Natsu couldn't get past the barrier. Huh. Oh, that's why, because Natsu's over 400 years old. Now, when I first watched this, I was blown out of my mind. Now, I think I caught the theory that already at the time, at the end of the Tartarus arc, where, you figure out that Natsu's E&D, but I don't know if I remember that he was, but I remember when I was first watching this, I was utterly flabbergasted and my jaw dropped. I'm like, he's E&D? He's Zera's brother? Which, it's a freaking crazy coincidence because ever since Zera was first introduced in the series back in Tenro, you could see that he knew Natsu by some reason and he got very emotional when he saw Natsu. Makes sense because that's his younger brother who he hasn't seen for quite a while at that point in time. And it's like, well, you made your greatest demon, the demon that's at the highest chance of killing you, be your little brother. How fucked up is that? Also, what's more effed up is the fact that, guess what? Now that we know that E&D is Natsu Dragneel, Aetherius Natsu Dragneel, guess what? Gray's on his hit list and Gray doesn't even know that he's E&D. Which you wonder, how is Gray going to react when he finds out that Natsu's E&D? I wonder what happens. Epic foreshadowing to Avarice Empire arc. So yeah, that whole revelation there was honestly insane. To think that never you would have thought, oh, guess what? Natsu is the brother to Zeref, probably the evilest wizard of all time. So at the same time, also seeing that Natsu essentially is a demon from the book of Zeref, which is crazy. Now he goes on to say, oh, how you came to meet Igniel and stuff like that. You'll find out another time, and how me and Mavis's connection was. You'll find out for another time. Now, when I saw that, I was like, literally, that's like a breaking of the fourth wall type of thing. It's like the anime that was, oh, you viewers, you'll find out why Natsu freaking, met up with Igniel and how me and Mavis tied together. You'll find out that real soon. So, yeah, that's the thing. Now, Zeref, he goes to meet Acnologia, who's just chilling out in this cave in his human form. So guess what? Acnologia can transform not only into a dragon form, but into his human form as well. He also still has his lost arm, which Zeref's like, so how's that arm of yours? Not. And essentially, Zeref asks him, like, why haven't you destroyed anything? And obviously, Agnologia gives him, like, no answer. He's just like, what does this guy want from me? And essentially, there's one Zeref says, he's like, I'm wondering, what side should I take? Should I take the side of the humans, which ends up trying to defeat you? Or should I take the other one? And that's when freaking Zeref was like, you know what? I don't think I'll do neither of those. I think I'm just going to destroy everything. Which is his whole motive behind the Alvarez Empire arc, is just destroying everything because he still sees everything as complete weakness, and stuff like that. So, yeah. And that, again, is the foreshadowing events to the Alvarez Empire arc. Now, cutting back to end the arc off with Fairy Tale, the Avatar arc. Natsu, Wendy, and Lucy are all entering Magnolia again, and essentially Lucy's kind of wondering to herself, like, what if the other members don't feel just as strong as we do coming back to the guild? Like, I sent out my letters to where they were at, and I hope they got their letters, but what if they don't want to come back? What if they have already made their established lives, and they'd rather stick to doing their new life instead of come back to the guild. And then in this whole scene, you get the flashbacks of how Fairy Tail disbanded or disbanded and everything, and how stuff. Very damn emotional scene. I'm not gonna lie. But then we have Kana show up and says, "Listen, yes, was it a shock that Makarov just disbanded the guild like that? Yes, but hey, good thing I caught your letter." Now we found out that what Kana was gonna do was gonna eventually kind of track down her dad, Guildart. So yeah, but she never did. But the one thing where I think was a beautiful end to the arc, which is very damn emotional, was when eventually Lucy goes up to the old guild hall where it's obviously gone. And essentially she sees every character from the Fairy Tail guild that she's been tracking this entire time. And obviously, it's a very emotional scene where she calls out everybody's names and stuff like that. And obviously, she starts to cry because she's like, I never thought I would get this again. I'm just glad that I get to have my family back. Again, very emotional scene. It honestly brings you to tears because it's like shit, and it was Miri that kind of made her break down and everything, because she thought she would never see these characters, or her ones she calls her friends, her family, ever again. And yeah, and like I said, even though technically, there is no main protagonist. I call the guild as the main protagonist. Technically, it's really Lucy's story because technically Lucy, by the time of this, by the time of the end of the Alvarez Empire arc, you find out that she's kind of been narrating the entire story, and her whole novel is based on every event she's been in the Fairy Tail Guild from start to beginning. And I really do like the fact that, and it does give me the Phantom Lord arc vibes too in this scene when they all come back together and they're like, "Hey, we were always going to come back whenever you said." Whenever there was a word that Fairy Tail would come back together, it gave me the Phantom Lord arc vibes when everybody came around to her and said, "Listen, just because you're a rich girl doesn't mean you're no different than us. You're still a Fairy Tail wizard just like us." And it honestly brought me back to that type of thing in this scene. But it was very emotional, and that's where the arc ends. Now that Fairy Tail is now reunited back together, they had to start building the guild hall again for like friggin' I don't know how long time, but that's the end of the Avatar arc. I thought the Avatar arc was a good introduction arc to getting readjusted back to the characters we all loved for the past few years, or how many chapters you've been reading them, episodes you've been watching of these characters, as well as seeing how much stronger they've gotten over time. And stuff like that, because that was kind of it's kind of a setup arc. This is what the Avatar arc, just like Sun Village for Tartaros, was a setup arc for the Alvarez Empire arc. It's just purely setup. So yeah, but I enjoyed this arc, seeing just the funny moments and everything, and all of these characters coming together yet again, for one more, collectively stand if what we see them in anime form and manga form, you still see them because the extended 100-year quest, which I'm still waiting for my 100-year quest anime to be announced. So yeah, but other than that, next time on the Fairy Tail arc reviews, we will not be talking about the Alvarez Empire arc review. We will be talking about the second movie of Fairy Tail, and that is Fairy Tail Dragon Cry, or Fairy Tail the movie Dragon Cry. Now, the reason why it's kind of confusing is at the end of the movie, you get a post-credit scene with Zeref and the Alvarez Empire forces essentially getting ready to invade, obviously, Fiore and start the whole war arc in the final season, in the Alvarez Empire arc. And technically, that's kind of after Fairy Tail goes to try to retrieve Makarov from Alvarez. And it's kind of in that area. Well, I can't do much of anything about that. So since it's technically, I guess Dragon Quest is technically canon to the movie, to the series, I'm going to do I'm going to do Fairy Tail Dragon Cry review next week. And then the week after will be, Alvarez Empire Arc Part 1, and then week after will be the final arc review video, and that will be the Alvarez Empire arc, part 2, and then that's it. And no more arc reviews on this amazing journey. But other than that, guys, I'm gonna get out of here, guys. So if you guys enjoyed the video, leave a like. Put in the comment section your thoughts on the Avatar arc and your hype levels for my thoughts for my review next week for the Dragon Cry movie review. Other than that, guys, I'm gonna get out of here. Hopefully, you guys have a great rest of your day or night when checking out this video. Until then, guys, I'll catch you guys on the next video. See you guys later. Peace.